down here in Houston, and Mom's having her first chemo today, 12 hours. So when she gets home, I want to have some something bland but something nutritious for her to eat. I'm going to make a red potato creamy soup. She said that sounds really, really good. And so I'm not going to put a lot of butter. I am going to use a little bit of butter, but I'm going to try to stay away from fats and, you know, stuff like that. So I'm just going to use some heavy whipping cream. That's easy to digest. And so for this recipe, we're going to use, I just bought the small little red potatoes, and we're going to put some carrots in there. I tried to go all organic for this particular soup for her. We're trying to do really healthy for her. And then we're going to do celery, some onions, some garlic, and then I'm going to cook that. I'm not going to use water to cook it in. I'm going to cook it in some, I found some free-range chicken bone broth. So I'm going to do 2 of those. And then when the spices, I'm going to use a bay leaf, just a tiny little bit of basil, and some garlic flakes. I do not have fresh garlic with me. So I'm going to scrub up these vegetables and we'll get them cooking. Okay, we got everything scrubbed up, and so now we are going to cut our vegetables. I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and pour this bone broth in there and start letting it heat. And I'm going to go ahead and do, probably going to start out with 1.5 and see how full that makes my pot once I get all my vegetables in. So I'm not used to an electric stove, but I had one when we first got married, but I'd much rather cook on my gas. It's quicker and you can turn it off really good, really fast. But okay, so that's 1.5 of those. And on my, still learning where all they keep everything. On my potatoes, they're not really big. I'm just gonna I'm gonna make really big hunks, okay? So, and this is a 5-pound bag. I probably won't do all of them, but, cause it's just me and Mom. But I do want enough for leftovers, because I don't know how she'll feel tomorrow with that many hours of chemo. So, like this potato, I just quartered it. It's really large hunks, because they cook down. And then I'm probably going to do a whole onion. And we like celery and carrots in ours, because we like, well, I'm gonna do quite a bit. Like I've got 5 stalks of celery here. And the carrots, I'll probably do that whole bunch. It just kind of makes it pretty, plus it gives her more nutrition. So, let me go ahead and turn this stove on. Let's see, I think it's this one. Yeah. And I'm gonna get all this cut up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got the vegetables all diced up, and you can see that I did do really big hunks. Not really big, but you know, pretty big, because we like a chunky soup. If you do not like a chunky soup, you can always cut these down smaller. Now, the spices that I told you I was going to use, I'm going to put some basil, just a little bit of basil, and some garlic, and a bay leaf. Now, I'm not going to put any salt in there because I think the broth is probably salty. And I'm not going to put pepper in there because I'll probably just add it to our individual bowls because I don't want to overdo it for her. Okay, so I'm going to put 1 bay leaf in here. And I'm probably going to go with about 1/2 of a tablespoon of the basil And then I'm just going to use garlic as I like it. I'm probably going to use more than what you would probably want to use. I'm probably going to use probably at least 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to bring it to a boil. Make sure you take your bay leaf out when your soup is done. I think I'll go ahead and do 2. Because I always hear the horror stories of choking on a bay leaf. Mom used to tell us that when we were little. Don't put that bay leaf in your mouth. You always take them out before we served it. Now I'm not going to put the heavy whipping cream in until it's just about done. And I'll probably pour out about a pint of this juice, this bone broth, and I'll replace it with the whipping cream, and that makes it creamy. Now if you want a little trick, if you want it to be more creamy, you can always add a couple of tablespoons of instant potatoes, and I did bring some of those. Okay, we're just gonna put just a little bit of this. Okay, all right, we're gonna bring this to a boil and get it all tender. And I'll bring y'all back to see it. Okay, this is good and tender. It's been probably boiling for about 30 minutes and just really, really good and tender. I don't want to do it too long because then the potatoes get mushy. We take out those leaves that we talked about earlier. And then what I do, I have been letting my whipping cream sit out this whole time, so it's pretty much room temperature because we don't want to cool this soup down, but we want it to be ready to serve when we get to this part. And actually I am not going to, well, I think I am. I'm going to pour out just a little bit of this juice, but not very much because I didn't have a lid on it when it was boiling, so it evaporated quite a bit. But I'm going to just pour out a tad. Okay, and let me show you what I did. Excuse my hand. So it's got about this much liquid in it. Not a lot, but a good amount. Okay, and then we're going to pour in our whipping cream. This makes it so good. Now I have another potato recipe on this channel, further on down, and I mix this whipping cream with some cream cheese, and oh, it is just delicious. Okay, now it's still smoking hot, so we're gonna let that just sit for a good little while because we're not ready to eat yet. I've got to go pick her up at the hospital in a little bit. And but this will be really nutritious for her when she gets home. And that's it. So simple. Is it delicious and nutritious?
It's wonderful. It's delicious.
And nutritious.
Best cook in the world.
Well, I don't know about that. Everything I learned was from you.
Yeah, you learn.
You learned it from Granny.
Mm-hmm.
Your Granny.
There's some things you do I didn't teach you.
Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this recipe. If y'all did, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram, Boots and Bonnets. Bye.